Welcome back. I'm Paula. I'm here with Karen. And today we're talking about a topic close to Karen's heart, I know, divine neutrality. I don't know about you, but when my heart is calling me for something that I really want, there are times that I just want it so much that it can't happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when we really want something, we become so overly focused upon it. It becomes really important. It becomes really significant. It becomes like almost like a burden and heavy, and we can feel like there's something going on that it becomes harder to get. And we've all been in the place where we're kind of like, hey, that'd be nice. And then all of a sudden it all lines up. And we're like, wow, how'd that happen? So we want to get more in that magic space where things happen without us working so hard. And that I'm calling divine neutrality. That's the sweet spot of wanting something lightly, something between, it's not wanting it, it's not making it important at all,
right.
But it's not that important and it's not overly important. It's just kind of somewhere in the middle where you're neutral, like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's okay, not meant to be. And you can kind of hold it lightly, like, wow, wouldn't that be nice? That would be so fun.
I need this in my relationships, because immediately with relationships, I get so excited. I want a lot now. And so I'd really like to figure out how to take that back a notch.
Yeah, well, as women, that's a very typical thing to do. We value relationships. They're important to us. They oftentimes define who we are, and they're a great source of satisfaction.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to look at other people's relationships and think, they're having a really good time together. No, because we're seeing from the outside.
And it really does feel like something that is being called from my heart. That relationships are close to our heart. So I see a lot of over importance, over potentializing, whatever that word is, really seeing so much, that could be way too soon. Mm-hmm. And that gets in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a really sweet spot of that. It's divine neutrality. Like, I like them well enough. Let's see where it goes.
Okay.
But there's lots of areas of life that we overvalue things. We make things way more important than they need to be. Relationships is one, especially the primary romantic relationship. Jobs is another. Mm-hmm. Money is one. Our children and their happiness is another. But all these, any area that you make more important than it really needs to be, you limit yourself, because it's like you're on top of a giant skyscraper, and then you're where you are, and then you're trying to get to where you want to be, and there's a gap. So I'm where I am, okay, there's no problem there, but where I want to be is really over there. So then when we make it really important, it's like we're putting a tightrope between the two tops of the buildings, and we take a few steps towards where we want to be, and right away is this huge fear, because fear of failure, fear of falling.
Yes.
Because we are like, we've made where we want to go like a pinnacle, or we put it up on a pedestal. We've made it really important. Like, if I don't get there, something's going to happen, and getting there becomes really arduous and hard.
And what I'm hearing in what you say is, the second I get it so narrowly focused and defined, my path and my tightrope is smaller, right?
Right.
So it's way up high in the skyscraper, and it's so narrow that there's a very small room for error. So that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress.
Right, because it's like when we have an idea, that's exactly what we have. An idea. One idea.
Right.
How is it going to work out? Well, I have an idea, my idea, and it has, all of a sudden, that's a tightrope.
Yes. No, I have a friend who had the perfect job, right? And I think we would all agree. She loved it. She finally got her dream job. She was a flight attendant for a major airline, international, right? So she just goes to a different country every day. She's single, so every week, she got to hang out. And she believed this was the perfect job. She lost that job. And she and I are talking about, how could this happen? What's happening here, right? And my advice to her was, listen, you woke up every day and did your best and this happened, that means this isn't the perfect job for you. She found that hard to believe. It was really, now I will tell you, she's now in what she will say is the perfect job for her. It's worked out beautifully. But it was so hard to see then, right? When you say we've got that so narrowly focused, we tend to think we know how it's supposed to look. And when it doesn't, we get really scared and nervous.
Yeah. And when hindsight being 2020, when we're able to look back after some period of time and see, oh, actually, this actually worked out 10 times better than I imagined. Then that's an interesting place. But what we want to do is have that feeling of this could work out 10 times better than I could imagine before waiting, 3 or 4 or 5 years and looking back in hindsight. So how can, when things don't work out, how is it that we can be with it in a powerful way? But oftentimes what happens is we have some kind of dream job or something that we thought we wanted or something that we're told by our community, this is it, this is
how it's supposed to look.
This is how it's supposed to, and everybody as a collective seems to be in agreement, like that idea of being an international flight attendant, wow, what a great job. Or being a doctor, wow, that's such a pinnacle
or
of
marrying
success.
one.
Or marrying one. Even better. So that when we finally achieve it, we think, wow, I've made it. But it does seem like very often the rug gets pulled out and all of a sudden
It wasn't it.
It wasn't it. And we end up someplace else. And then we have an opportunity to reevaluate what is it that I really want. And to get to a place of neutrality about it, well, it's okay if I have it, it's okay if I don't have it. Neutrality. It's okay if I lose that job, it's okay if I get another job.
But it's a scary place to be.
Well, then it's something that needs to be practiced. Like oftentimes we don't have it as actually it's a quite high spiritual place. It's like a big high plateau where really whatever happens, you're fine, you're taken care of, you know that you're going to be okay, and whatever happens, happens.
We've just gone from this much possibility to this much.
It's like a high plateau, like you can catch your breath and regroup and make your next decision from a grounded place. And that's what you're doing. Sometimes we're all flying so high and going so fast and leaping from one building to the next, one goal to the next, or walking that tightrope to try to get to where we want to be. And what I'm saying is with divine neutrality, it's like, no, you like lower the platform all the way to the ground to a place where it's really not that important. Like even with the relationship thing, we're told in our community like how important it is to have a primary relationship. It really validates you, it really tells you who you are, you're going to be so happy there. But as we know, like sometimes you're happy in a marriage or
sometimes you're happy single.
And sometimes you're happy single. So like to lower the importance, like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. This reminds me of a movie. I really like the movie Wedding Crashers, and there's a couple brilliant lines in it. But Vince Vaughn has just been like kind of terrorized all night long. And he's like having this horrific experience.
World of possibility. Yeah.
And his partner, what's his friend's name? Owen
yeah.
Wilson's in love, and he wants to stay, and they're like out at this beautiful house on wherever they are, Long Island. But Vince, like, Owen Wilson saying, please, I gotta see about a girl, let's just stay a few more hours. And so Vince Vaughn says, well, I'm gonna go back to my room and get to neutral.
That's really what it takes. You just gotta exhale and get to neutral. But hopefully this increases your awareness of when you're way too important. Let's lower it down and bring it back to neutral.
Just get to neutral.
Well, there's an element about this that reminds me of one of my favorite topics, which is faith, right? This is about trusting our path, trusting our heart. My heart has told me to want this. The way I thought it would work out isn't working out. And so I'm gonna expand the realm of possibility and trust that it's gonna work out anyway, right?
Right.
And I know you've talked in the past about like trust trophies, something like
Oh
that.
yeah. This is the idea of looking back in your life of the huge successes that you've had and remembering them, and actually like putting a plaque on the wall, or having like sometimes people have like trophies mounted, these trophy fish or trophy heads, that have been like taken to the taxidermist and now it's like mounted on the wall. Like that we've all had in our lives places that I didn't know how it was going to work out.
Yes.
I was really, incredulous that because my plan had failed, and I was, I had to find a way, or, trust
Yes.
that God would find a way for me. And yet, somehow, miraculously, things came together, and
Yes.
and now, this is my trophy on the wall.
So my mom collects plants. My brother went through a really difficult time, and she could look at the willow tree in her backyard and know that when he came home, they planted that tree, right? I went through an illness with cancer, and when I started my cancer treatments, we bought a rose bush. So she has plant trophies that you can go out and you can remember that your faith, it didn't work out the way you thought it would. It was a hard time because you didn't understand. But as you look back, it worked out so perfectly, right?
Right.
So there are all kinds of different ways to do trophies.
Yes, and this is huge, especially the longer you live, the more times you've had where they are worthy of like highlighting and having in your life as a trophy. Like, well, I made it through. I made it through the divorce. I made it through the illness. I made it through moving house.
Yeah.
I made it through
Renovations.
I made it through that breakup. I made it through, being worried about a child, and then that all seemed to work itself out. And when we have these, it reminds us that there are ways that are like mysterious, that there's like ways that every possibility can work out so much better, 10 times better than what we could imagine. And it's not our way. It's like there's all these invisible lines and invisible pathways that we can't see until we start taking a step towards what we want, like a little baby step in that direction, and then the path reveals itself.
One of my favorite quotes, I think it's John Lennon, but I'll just pause here in case I have to take that out, is it all works out in the end. And if it hasn't worked out, it isn't the end.
Isn't the end? Well, that's a very lovely place to
Still
end.
on the journey, right?
Yeah, if it hasn't worked out, it's not the end.
Enjoy riding the wave of good fortune. We'll see you soon.